Ooh, let's get busy right on this one. Yeah. Former Seattle Police Chief Adrian Diaz fired or alleged affair with a colleague. This is a quick one, but we're going to do a more detailed follow-up in a minute. This is the appetizer. Let's get going on this one.
Just in now, former Seattle Police Chief Adrian Diaz has been fired from the department. Mayor Bruce Harrell sending out a memo a short time ago announcing his decision to terminate Diaz's employment. That decision is based on the findings of an inspector general's report. The mayor says in a memo to the city council that Diaz had an intimate relationship with an employee he hired.
Whoa.
Diaz has denied that relationship. He was demoted from chief back in the spring and put on paid leave 2 months ago.
All right, let's get going. Check it out.
Seattle's mayor has fired his former police chief, alleging he hired a female romantic partner for a high-ranking position and lied about it all.
The termination letter contained numerous new claims against Adrian Diaz and comes at a time when he's suing the city. For months, the department has been in turmoil. 4 female officers accused Diaz and another top lieutenant of intimidation and discrimination. Diaz was demoted and suspended, and it happened as the city struggles to recruit new officers.
Tonight we have team coverage. KOMO's Michelle Esteban is standing by with reaction, but we begin with senior reporter Chris Daniels with the details on Diaz's firing.
Former Seattle Police Chief Adrian Diaz had been demoted, accused of harassing 4 Seattle female police officers. Diaz had denied it, announcing he's gay. But now Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell is accusing Diaz.
He just used that tactic to cover his tracks. Ain't gonna work.
Woman that he hired in violation of city policy, and that is the reason for his termination. Once upon a time, the city embraced Adrian Diaz as a police chief.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
Even as he was asked to step aside.
I want to thank the men and women of the Seattle Police Department for their hard work.
And Diaz denied claims by 4 women of sexual harassment based on his sexual orientation because he's gay.
It's absurd.
Yeah,
I haven't had that opportunity to just be able to tell my story.
He just said that to cover his tracks, like I said.
Struggled with.
Well, I don't sleep with women. I'm gay. Yeah, sure.
That I'm a
Like 4 women came forward, Diaz.
But his termination by Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell flips the script. One of a chief who flaunted violations of city policy and a romantic relationship with a woman he hired and supervised. Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell is now accusing Diaz of having an intimate or romantic relationship with a former SPD employee, and that a handwritten card found in Diaz's car tipped off the affair. And an independent investigation found Diaz openly discussed this sexual relationship with subordinates. The termination letter says Diaz had her report directly to him, and he failed to report this relationship either prior to or during her employment at SPD. And it all violated SPD policies for dishonesty, professionalism, avoiding and disclosing conflicts of interest, and improper personal relationships. Diaz acknowledges the investigation is about his former communications director, Jamie Tompkins. Both Diaz and Tompkins have already been on paid administrative leave since November, after Seattle's Office of Inspector General accused Tompkins of providing untruthful information and a disguised handwriting sample. Diaz dismissed the rumored relationship during a June radio interview.
So many different things on so many levels are just such false.
He is still suing the city, and in a statement said in part, the investigation that led to his termination is, quote, fundamentally flawed and an act of retaliation by the mayor based on his sexual orientation. Diaz also makes a claim in the statement that he refused to comply with what he says, now quoting, I believe to be an unlawful directive from the mayor. In Seattle, Chris Daniels, KOMO News.
We reached out to Diaz's former chief of staff, Jamie Tompkins, and have not heard back.
What a
The
surprise.
firing of Seattle's former top cop seemed to come as a surprise to most city council members, some of them telling us they didn't know about it until it broke late this morning. KOMO's Michelle Esteban caught up with one council member who was not only aware, but thinks the decision will ultimately be good for Seattle.
Councilmember Bob Kettle, the only council member willing to talk about this today. In fact, he's one of 10 people who this letter from the mayor went to, announcing that firing and explaining why. One of the things that Kettle told me is these charges are serious, could not be overlooked, and that he thinks that termination is actually going to help the department move forward.
We didn't realize back in May this would be the last time we saw Adrian Diaz as Seattle's top cop.
Based on the investigative findings, Councilmember Bob Kettle, chair of Seattle's Public Safety Committee, says it's the right call.
As a leader, those are serious charges, and the investigation found him to be, for them to be true. And we just can't continue on that way.
And allegations of a romantic relationship with an SPD employee were also swirling. And now, 7 months later, the chief fired for it and other issues, from dishonesty to a conflict of interest.
Those are the things that make it, difficult to stay where we are, and the need to move forward. And again, we can't look past that.
Most didn't know the firing was coming until it happened. Many declined to comment, including Councilmember Joy Hollingsworth, who said she had no warning. Same goes for Councilmember Dan Strauss.
I have
We're ready.
3 minutes before council starts.
Okay, 3 minutes.
No, I have to go to the dais right.
I also wanted to ask about next steps. Seattle's former chief forced out of the department. Who will ultimately replace him? Where is the city in the process? No finalist announced, yet a promise of a new chief by the end of the year. I asked the city attorney.
I'm not able to speak on that.
Are you concerned at all with regard to how we move forward to hiring the next chief? I mean, where are the candidates?
This process is moving forward, and I'll defer to the mayor on the details, but I can say that the process has been moving forward and continues to move forward.
Supporters like Reverend Harriet Walden, who rallied around Diaz when he was reassigned in May, saddened by the news of his firing.
I have to ask you today your reaction to Adrian Diaz being fired.
Well, he's a decent man, and it's just it's a shame, but I'll just say he's a decent man.
Michelle Esteban, Como News.
Well, he wasn't that decent if he got
Citing
fired.
The mayor today, but due to pending litigation, was told he could not comment. In a statement, the mayor said in part, while they take time, this is why we do investigations that are robust and thorough. He also said he's looking forward to announcing the next police chief in the near future. This story is just starting to unfold, and Como News will have you covered every step of the way. Look for updates live on Como TV and on our website, comonews.com.
It just makes me, man, a lot of these police departments are just not that good. A lot of police, a lot of lieutenants, captains, and chiefs are getting fired, demoted, or sued, or they're facing charges. Woo! Policing in America, boy, going downhill.